There are people who couldn't come today because they're in other club meetings, which is totally legit. If you're in Club Hope and you forgot about it, welcome. We just won't tell Miss Amy. And yeah, so I want to make sure if they want to learn about sea monsters, they also get to learn about sea monsters. There is a portion coming up that I will spend about 30 seconds talking about whale penises, but we'll talk about it. It's fine. I will warn you. So if you're like, no, I can't hear this, let us know. I will warn you. You can close your eyes and ears, and then we'll get back to the monster part. Hi, Gracie. Hi, Ayla. Hi, Zoe. Nick. Okay. Whew. I need to not just spend the whole time yelling at people. Okay. Let me share this with you. So I'm going to put all the weird pictures of animals that I talk about, or plants, or whatever, on this website, and then I will share this with you. I don't think I've published it yet, so I can't, but I will once I do. So I'll send you an email with the published site so that you can be like, oh my God, look at what Michelle talked about. Can you believe whale penises? That is going to be one of the origins of the Kraken, and that's very bananas. Okay, so let's talk about this. Yeah. Is it gonna load? Well, I'm just gonna talk about it anyway. Okay, some of the early. So have you ever heard of the term "here be dragons"? It used to be what people put on maps to be like, we don't know what is here because we haven't visited it yet because we're white colonialists. We want to go discover continents where people already live, but we're pretty sure there's scary monsters there. And also, we're artistic and we want to make it look pretty because if you look at a map of the world, it's mostly water. And if you look at the surface of water, it's kind of boring unless you like understand the water, right? And so people would write or they draw all these crazy monsters and they'd be like, whoa, look at this fish that flies, the flying fish, and then look at these crazy monsters. They're whales. But we're going to talk about different ones that they have talked about. The earliest sea monsters oh, by the way, please be active in the chat if you want to. You can chat with each other. You can put things you want me to talk about next week. Cool shows you've seen, anything. I don't care. It's fine. I'm the only teacher here. You can do what you want. People have this idea that because you can't see into deep water, it's like, what is under there? And I actually dated a dude for a while who was like, why do you do marine biology? There could be sharks. I'm like, I am literally here for the sharks. Where are the sharks? And I could never find the sharks. It was very sad. Three seniors told me they were at the beach this weekend and saw a shark. And I was very jealous. If you go to Point Duma, you actually can see the whales migrating. And if there's whales, there will also be sharks. Especially also if there are dolphins, there will be sharks. I used to work in a shark lab and people would call us all the time and be like, but if there's dolphins, they'll protect us, right? Absolutely not. Dolphins protect themselves. And so if you're a threat to their babies because you're splashing around like an idiot and they're worried that the sharks are going to be attracted to your splashing, they will protect you by leading you back to shore so that the sharks aren't attracted to you being an idiot in the water and then threatening their babies. Okay. So, but they don't do it out of the goodness of their little dolphin hearts because why? We are not good to dolphins. We are the worst. Ugh, okay. Even though we like this idea of, oh, the dolphins love me. No, the dolphins hate the sharks and they don't want you to attract the sharks. Okay. So if you see dolphins, it's likely there are also sharks. They eat the same food. Just keep that in mind. Still love it. Don't care. Let's keep going. The earliest mention of monsters is a tie between, I don't know when Scylla and Charybdis were talked about in the Odyssey versus like when the Torah was written. But everyone always starts with Scylla and Charybdis because they're this scare. Odysseus was trying to get home to his wife, even though he was cheating on her the whole time. He was hoping that she wasn't cheating on him because Greek, and it's fine. And so there's a scary place where you have to go through. Your boat has to go through a scary monster called Charybdis, which sucks boats in from the bottom. It's just this giant mouth and then this big scary 6-headed 12-footed ancient monster that used to be a lady, but she got a witch mad at her because some dude had a crush on this lady Scylla, and then the witch was like, no, I like you, so screw that lady, and turns poor Scylla into a scary monster, even though it wasn't her fault, which is like all Greek mythology. And so we get Scylla and Charybdis, and you have to somehow get your boat through these two monsters without dying. And even Odysseus, who was this amazing sailor, still lost 6 of his sailors. Oh, it's so scary. What is it? Oh, they're not actually alive, but they're still kind of scary. What they actually are in real life is a scary, scary cliff and an actual whirlpool. So whirlpools happen. Sometimes you see them in your sink. You definitely see them in your toilet. Whenever the pressure underneath water goes away, the water on top wants to flow downwards, but because of the circulation of the world, it goes in either a clockwise or counterclockwise direction, depending on which continent you're in. You also see this happen if you have a very narrow strait, which is an inlet of water, but water hits it at an angle. As it bounces back in, it starts to make these swirly things. So we see here, we literally are looking at Scylla and Charybdis. I don't see, scary headed monsters. It's fine, but I do see the scary whirlpool. And one of the fastest whirlpools in the world is the Naruto whirlpool. And yes, that's where the name for the character comes from. It is one of the fastest whirlpools in the world. It can be 20 meters across, which is 60 feet ish. I did not look it up. And it can be, this is very fast. Let's see, how fast did I say it went? It can be 12 miles per hour straight, and then even faster when you're in the circle. And it's all because the tides, when they change, the tides change direction, and you have one part of the water that's a lot higher than the other, so it starts zooming down, and then the other part goes zooming under, and boats can get sucked into the Naruto whirlpool. How exciting, y'all! It's not the fastest whirlpool in the world. That one is actually in Norway, and we're going to talk a little bit about Norway monsters again later. Oh, why am I talking so fast? Because I'm so excited. Yes, dude, if you need to do pizza things, do your thing. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. You're going to talk about that. We should. Miss Luca, Luca. We should absolutely do an unofficial marine biology whale watching trip. I would lose my mind. I'll just be like, why are you out here? What? Wear your mask. And then, we'll make it happen, because that would be very exciting. We actually could also talk to the Wrigley Institute and see if we could use their boats. That would also be amazing. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, cool. Scylla and Charybdis is just a cliff and a whirlpool, which if you're in a boat is very scary, but if you came here for the monsters, you're like, dude, really? This is why I'm here? Don't worry, it gets better. Next, we're going to talk about the Leviathan. And one of the reasons I didn't get to finish all of my website is because I was reading a lot about the Leviathan, because apparently this comes from Jewish literature, which I did not realize, and it's very exciting. And so the Leviathan is mentioned I actually texted 4 different teachers at DTHS to be like, is this in the part of the Bible that's actually Jewish and the Christians stole it and called it the Bible? And they're like, oh, do you mean? And then told me all the real names. And so from, let's see, from Alex Rubin, he said, Job is in the Bible, but not the Torah. And then someone else said, Miss Bodenstein said, it's in the book of the prophets. Okay, so it's in the prophets when Job is talking, and he talks so much about the Leviathan, y'all. He's like, everyone else is like, yeah, things are scary in the ocean, don't go there. And then Job writes forever about it. Let me read you some of his Leviathan from a book I have called The Science of Monsters, because of course I have a book called The Science of Monsters. It doesn't have good pictures. It's very disappointing. Any hope of subduing him is false, is the Leviathan. The mere sight of him is overpowering. I will not fail to speak of his limbs, his strength, and his graceful form. Who can strip off his outer coat? Who would approach him with a bridle? Who dares open the doors of his mouth, ringed about with his fearsome teeth? So scary, y'all. Okay. Let's see. His back has rows of shields tightly sealed together, each so close at the necks, to the necks that no air can pass between. So he has scales. Exciting. His snorting throws out flashes of light. His eyes are like the rays of dawn, so he glows in the dark. Exciting. Firebrands stream from his mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out, so he breathes fire. This Leviathan is very intense, y'all. But and also you actually see all cultures have a very, very scary idea of sea monsters, okay? Because the sea is scary. Sometimes boats go out and they never come back. We still have not tamed the ocean. There's no way to tame the ocean. When you are getting something shipped from China, it could get lost at sea, and then too bad, so sad. There is no getting it back. Maybe it'll wash up on shore in France someday, but not today. If you're in Earth Science, we talked about the Garfield phones. So the Garfield phones that keep washing up in France, and and also there's also Legos that wash up in random places. It's just these are shipments that that capsized in the ocean in the 80s, and they're still washing up. That's how big the ocean is, and that's how long it takes stuff to circulate through different parts of the ocean. There are certain podcasts you can listen to where they talk about stuff like there are human feet inside of shoes that wash up in random places around the ocean. What is happening? Mostly in Canada, there are just random feet, nothing else. They're just like a shoe with a foot in it that wash up in parts of the ocean, parts of the beaches in Canada. And people are like, what's doing this? What's happening? Oh my goodness, there's monsters eating humans. That's actually not Leviathan. It actually is a sadder thing. It turns out what's probably happening is people are jumping off of bridges, and then when they hit the water, if they die, they float head down, and their feet are up at the top, and then eventually your ankle breaks down, and then the feet float away as the body sinks to the bottom. CSI needs to get on that, is all I'm saying. Okay. Oh, by the way, y'all, we'll talk about Criminal Minds after. Remind me to talk about Criminal Minds. Okay. There's also a weird crossover going on when the Christians were like, we also have sea monsters. Let's write about it. And so they took this idea of Leviathan and they turned it into maybe it's Satan, because the idea with the Leviathan is in Jewish literature is that, or in Jewish, the holy books, I don't want to say literature. I don't know. I don't want to get canceled. Is that the idea is there were two Leviathans, a male and a female, but they're so big that they can't both exist on the planet at the same time, or else everyone will die. And so the male killed the female, thanks, and salted her and like put her underground and said, don't worry, when the world ends, I'll bring her back to life and we'll have a bunch of babies and then you can eat us. And so I don't know what that means. There's probably much meaning that I don't understand. But in Christian literature, they decided, also that's a nice form of chaos. So we're going to say that's Satan. And by the way, when the Leviathan opens its mouth, it's called a hell mouth. And that's where like the portal to hell is. So that might sound familiar if you've ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they live on a hell mouth, which means lots of monsters can come out and do things. And it's like, oh, so many crossovers. Y'all, so exciting. So what is a Leviathan? So a lot of these have to do with snakes, because snakes are so scary. Supernatural absolutely uses the Hellmouth and Leviathan. They use literally everything. They were on for like 1 million seasons, so they had to use everything. So if you've ever looked at if you're not into snakes, please close your eyes. But people look at snakes and they're like, oh, so scary. How dare you? I don't know how it moves. And so it's very scary. Everything that is evil must be a snake because, hello, they can bite you and kill you. But the number of snakes that can actually kill you is very, very small. So just, leave the snakes alone. Let them do their little snaky thing. Don't step on them. Ooh, nice. Oh, cool. Okay. So this idea is, so where did this idea of the Leviathan come from? Actually comes from, we have our first clue in this picture of the great sea serpent that was published in 1860. And then we start to get this idea of, what is this? Oh, it's an oarfish. And you might recognize oarfish from Animal Crossing, y'all. Animal Crossing is doing so much good stuff for the world of marine biology and paleontology. So Animal Crossing. So if you've seen the oarfish come up in Animal Crossing, congratulations. It's too big to fit in your regular pool or whatever. You have to put it somewhere and keep it safe before you can sell it to the creepy raccoon. I don't know. I haven't played it. I should probably play it. I could probably write it off on my taxes as research. It's so pretty. And you can look at oarfish larvae, and they're like some of the so baby fish are called larvae because people don't respect the fish, is my opinion. No, they're very weird. And they're really pretty. And they have these beautiful like fins that go back, and they're so pretty. They usually live in the most, in the deep ocean. Oh, look how pretty they are. But if I could do a oarfish hairdo, that would be my life. I would be so excited. Look at this. Oh, it's so pretty. And the point of those fins is to keep it upright in the water, because otherwise you're just this little flappy thing that's going to fall over in the water, and that's no good. Okay. And then as they get older, you get the more prettier, you get the longer and longer oarfish. They can be up to 50 feet long. So you know this is someone's Tinder profile because half of them are people holding fish. And so whenever they wash up on the shore, there are different cultures who say that must mean an earthquake is happening. No, it usually probably just means it got hit by a boat, which is kind of sad. Oh, poor oarfish. We are not great to you. So if you keep looking on, if you Google oarfish, you do eventually get to this picture. These are not oarfish. We're going to get into what this is in a few minutes. This is the part of where I'm going to tell you, cover your ears if you're not into it, but it does lead us into whales because this is in fact a whale, and we'll talk about the rest in a minute. Because the other thing about the oarfish is, or the sea serpent or leviathan, is it could be talking about whales. Because if you don't know, whales are the biggest animals that have ever lived on the planet, and they're huge. Here is a humpback whale accidentally eating a sea lion, and sea lions are bigger than people. So it's just like the sea lion, you can see the sea lion is like, I'm just eating some fish, what the frick is happening? And the humpback is like, lol, and eating it anyway. Now the humpback can't swallow a sea lion, so he does end up like spitting it up, which is great because in this picture there's a person being scooped up by a minke whale, and you can see, it took me a while to realize this is a butt. Okay, here is a human butt, here are the legs. Okay, so it took me a while to be like, oh, that's a human. And so you might think, oh, they don't eat big things. They can't swallow a human, but they have huge tongues. And the way that whales eat is they take in a bunch of water. And it's like if you're trying to, I'm trying to think of like a good example. Or like when you're a little kid and you like spit out of your teeth. Have you ever done that where you're like, you'd like, yeah. So that's how they spit. They get rid of all the water and they crush the krill and algae against their front plate with a very, very, very powerful tongue, which means that tongue could kill a human that it ended up swallowing by accident. And there's all these stories like Pinocchio of a human living inside of a whale, but the size difference would be like if you tried to have a gerbil live inside of your mouth. Not gonna happen, right? So that, like, you literally can't get a gerbil in there with the tongue. Same thing with this person. The whale doesn't want to eat that person. The person doesn't want to get eaten. You couldn't actually live inside a whale, even though they are so huge. You might think you could. If you've ever seen bubble netting is very exciting. Or if you've heard of it, bubble netting. This is what humpback whales do. Shopping. What would you? Okay. Shopping, Google, capitalism. Okay, so bubble netting is where humpback whales will travel around a group of fish, and they herd them, because not all fish are very smart. Okay, many fish are very dumb, and they herd them with their bubbles into one small area, and then they scoop them up. So a bunch of whales will come out from underneath and scoop them up. And can you imagine seeing this? And you're just like in your boat, and then you see some bubbles, and you're like, what is that? And then just suddenly 12 giant faces come out of the water. That would be terrifying. And so if you're an ancient person who doesn't understand biology, you're definitely going to look at this and be like, friggin' monsters, what is happening, right? Because look at how big these things are. You also can imagine that if you are this person, okay, so if a whale is close to your boat, it could knock your boat over. And that this whale is humpback is purposefully smashing this yacht because the yacht got too close to its young. And so to me, I'm like, dude, if you aren't paying attention to where you're yachting, in this case, this humpback got really close to these people. And, if it had hit them, it could have knocked them out. It could have made them pass out. So it's not a great situation. Whales can be very, very dangerous, even though we like to think of them as these beautiful, gentle giants, which they usually are. But it's same thing with elephants. If you piss off a very, very angry male, it will come for you. Okay. And it's interesting because they're closely related to elephants. Interesting. Okay, here's another example. The whale doesn't even have to touch your boat for it to still cause your boat to sink. If the whale just dives very close to your boat, the motion of the water will cause your boat to go under. So whales are very, very dangerous. And that's one of these, if you go back up to this map, you can see that there are whales represented all over. So you see the spouts coming up. So there's a whale. Here's another whale. I don't know why they drew them as having two. Oh, I do know, because our noses have two holes. So they thought they had two spouts. Okay. Here is a nice sea serpent leviathan. Here are the whale leviathans. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, so scary. Sea monsters, so scary. Let's keep talking. Let's go back to this one for a second. So if you are sensitive, please close your eyes. Let me tell you, this is one of the origins of the kraken. So imagine you're on a boat and you're watching you're whale watching. It's so pretty. Oh, and you see a whale come up from the bottom and you're like, oh, so cool. Or maybe you don't know what it is. You just see something rise to the top of the ocean and you're like, that's cool. And then suddenly you see these big old tentacles come out and start poking that thing. What is it? It's poking these pink tentacles. What's happening? All right. Is everybody who is sensitive not listening? Everybody, earmuffs? Okay. If you're here, it's because you want to be here. Let me tell you what these things are. They're giant 12-foot prehensile whale penises. Okay? That's why. Oh, y'all, recording it. I'm gonna get fired. It's gonna be fine. It's fine. It's science. But that what's happening here is male gray whales, when they're learning how to have sex, they go and they find females and they're just like, hey, lady. And usually the lady's pregnant. She's like, no, back off. And whales are lucky in that they can go up to the surface of the water, turn right upside down, and then their openings are all away from penises. So the males have evolved giant prehensile penises. So you literally imagine you're in a boat and you see all these, like they'll gang up on these ladies in groups of like 6 or 7. And so you just see all these tentacles just trying to find entry to this lady who's like, no, thank you. Okay. Can you imagine? Like, of course, your first thought is going to be that has to be a scary, scary tentacle monster when it's actually a bunch of whale penises. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the kraken, y'all. Okay. Sensitivity over if you want to unplug your ears. Okay, let's talk about the kraken. So the kraken's exciting, and we talk about the kraken. There's a movie in which someone says release the kraken. That's misappropriation because it's in a Greek mythology movie. It's actually from Scandinavian folklore because they saw lots of whale penises, but also because that's just where the myth started. Okay. And so a lot of people are like, oh, it's obviously from the giant squid because the giant squid is so huge. By the way, y'all, let's just take a few minutes to appreciate this picture. This guy, just really look at this picture. He's like, yeah, hey, look at me. Look at me next to this giant squid. And I will do the same thing if I find a giant squid because they are very, very rare. I think we've seen maybe 5 or 6 individuals since humans have started recording history. But just like this idea that this guy's like, I'm gonna lay next to it, take my picture, I'm gazing at it, look at me gaze, I'm gonna use it on my Tinder profile. So you can just imagine just the thoughts going through people's heads when they do this. So when you see a squid or an octopus, if they turn red, they are very angry. So this poor squid is very angry, is very stressed out. They do not live this close to the surface. So someone mentioned in the chat, what about animals that get brought to the surface too quickly, like the poor blobfish we talked about last week? They are not used to that kind of pressure, and this poor squid is losing its mind because it has no idea where it is. It doesn't know where it is in relation to the bottom of the ocean or back and forth or anything. And so usually if you see a giant squid at the surface, it's about to die because it's really, really sick. Usually though, the sperm whales eat them. And so we never see them. So this is a picture of a dead sperm whale. I'm very sorry. Close your eyes if you don't want to see it. But you can see that sperm whales have all of these like weird marks on them, and it's from fighting giant squid. We've actually, when we've done what are called necropsies on sperm whales, which is an autopsy of an animal. Why do they get their own name? Because human hubris. We find their bellies are filled with the beaks of giant squid. So squid have beaks. Let's just do squid, which look very, very similar to bird beaks. So you might be like, oh my God, are they related? But no, it's just weird convergent evolution. They just happen to have a very similar shape. This looks a lot like a parrot beak to me, right? So crazy. So that's what's at the center of all of their tentacles. That's very scary. If you like, not only does this giant squid have crazy arms, it has this huge, crazy beak. Its eyeball is literally the size of a human head, but the tentacles, each one of a giant squid's tentacles is also filled with teeth. Dude, this thing wants to kill us so bad. No, it doesn't care about humans. It's trying to protect itself from sperm whales, okay? While we've got sperm whales up, let's also take a look at the sperm whale. Can sperm whale eat humans? No, because look at how small, like their mouth is very long and narrow, which is great for doing really deep dives. And we'll do a talk about deep diving animals because it's very bananas. But they couldn't actually swallow a human. Their throat is too small. But if you look at they don't have teeth on the top of their mouth. Their bottom teeth literally fit right up into their top jaw, just like, and so when they're diving, no water can get in. Interesting. Okay, I didn't get to put pictures in, but let's real quick. Oh, you know what we should do instead? Let's take questions for the last 5 minutes. Y'all, tell me all your questions or comments or anything. We'll talk about Jaws in a separate thing. Just go, just talk.
Oh, I have about like deep sea fish.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it true that like there are certain fish that look different, like when they're like in the deep sea? For example,
Yes.
like marine trench. For example, like the blobfish doesn't
Poor
actually look
blobfish.
like it doesn't look like what we
Yeah,
think it looks
no,
like.
poor
It only
blobfish.
looks
Yeah.
like that it's like tissue got ruined or something.
Yeah, it's literally like if all of the fat in your body squeezed out of your pores is what's happening there. Not just like a little pimple thing, but like all of your insides came out of your pores. That's what's happening to the poor blobfish.
It
And it's
actually
because usually the pressure is squishing it into its body.
they look really different when they're
Yeah.
underwater.
Yeah. We'll cover that when we do the deep sea. Ooh, should we do deep sea next week? Is that what we want? Yeah, I'm into it. Okay,
I think they're
excellent.
like green or something. They're green when they're
Yeah,
deep.
they're like a darker color. Yeah, we're gonna talk about how a lot of deep sea animals are a dark color because there's no light down there, so they want to be as dark as possible so you can't see them. What other questions do y'all have?
Do jellyfishes have hearts?
Oh no, not really. They
No.
barely have brains. They have like a section of cells that are kind of like hearts. I did want to do like a section of animals I think are super creepy. And the one that is like certain right now, my creepiest animal is this jellyfish that's very fleshy and creeps me out. So it's a fleshy jellyfish. Y'all, look at this thing. Usually jellyfish are like long and diaphanous and beautiful. And this is just like, what? This is bleh. This thing, imagine this thing touching you with its little like finger, like bleh. Y'all, I hate it. I hate it and I love it. And they can be a meter wide. They can be 3 feet wide. Ugh. There's also so people are worried about whales being dangerous. There are jellyfish that are a mile long. Those are more dangerous. I had a friend who was talking to me about how she was if you can hug it if you want, it wants to be friends with you, but it might eat you. Num num num. We'll talk about jellyfish all in one, but there is a lot. Let's do biggest jellyfish. I don't want to. This thing creeps me out. This is like your creepiest relative trying to hug you, but from all directions. So this is an exaggeration, but this is this is an exaggeration. This is an accurate representation of the world's biggest jellyfish compared to a human. Y'all, and these tentacles can go for literally a mile. No, thank you. And it can kill you. I would not get this close to a jellyfish. I would be dead. I would just, you know what? You hug it, you're dead automatically. No, thank you. But
Wait,
this jellyfish,
yes, the most poisonous fish in the world.
Yeah, the lion fish is very poisonous. The venomous, sorry, the lion's mane jelly is also very dangerous. No, thank you. We'll do a whole thing on marine venom. How about that? Blech. This thing, it creeps me out so much. Not which one, this one. So I will take sea serpents and whale penises over this very, very creepy, squishy, fleshy jellyfish any day. Oh, good question. The difference between venom and poison is that poison is just a natural occurring chemical in an animal, but if another animal eats it or a plant, if something eats it, then they have a reaction and they die. Like if I eat poison ivy, it's not venomous because it doesn't actively try and kill me, but if I eat it, I will be dead, right? So that is poison. Venom is when the animal comes after you. So if a snake bites you, that's venom. Okay. If you bite a snake and that snake has a toxin in it, it's poisonous. Now, octopi, such as the ones that can be on land, are venomous and poisonous. So they can bite you and kill you. But like the little doses, the blue ring octopus is the one. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna look that up, Netta. Don't you even worry, Netta. I'm gonna figure it out. The blue ring octopus. Ooh, I'm very. I have so many questions. The blue ring octopus, if you touch it, it will bite you and you're dead. If you bite it, on a part where like its beak isn't, it's poisonous and you'll die. So everything about these like little octopus is screaming, "Don't touch me! I'm a scary, scary octopus," even though it's literally only like this big. Let's see, this person, by the way, dead. Whoever did this, dead. Why would you do this? Okay, anyway, but for the Instagram. Okay, y'all, I've talked a lot. Lunch is over. If you have any last few questions, I'm totally here for you, but I also don't want to go into your class time. So you can leave, you can stay. It's up to you. I love you. See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hopefully that wasn't too crazy. Or it was just the right level of crazy.